The audio is also there, and through this, the audio is not there. And okay, Ruby platform ID. So this is primarily for embedded systems and provides a large variety of embedded system platforms as here and frameworks, lots of frameworks with significant ecosystem is working on this platform ID IO stuff. So this extension provide a lot more functionality over the stuff that on the ID that's a much basic ID, and this provide more embedded system product development environment for that. Features do include 1000 plus embedded boards, literally that much embedded boards that provide 40 plus development platform, 20 plus frameworks, lots of stuff, installation guides and other stuff. Debugger for Firefox. So this is a debugger for Firefox, primarily for applications on the developing for the web on that. So you can have how the application behave in Firefox inside that. That used to be a thing. Now the much more standard stuff is there, specifically from the corporations that are come together to develop some ecosystem, so they can have more revenue and less on the repeated code side, which results in tremendous revenue for them. But it used to be a case when every browser is totally different from the other and they are running in their own way. If you really want to know that, so you can visit on the documents how that thing got developed from the early 95, 2000, 2005, 2010 and onwards. Kubernetes primarily for deployment on the server side application is deployed, and so these are Kubernetes tools primarily related to the extension the Kubernetes stuff. Means all the command line applications that used to happen only in the command line form. These are now it can happen in the click form through this extension. View cluster, export, review, and trailing workloads. Browse Helm repos and install charts in your Kubernetes cluster, intelligence for Kubernetes, Helm charts and templates, edit Kubernetes, SOC manifest, apply them to your cluster, build and run contains in your cluster from Docker files in your project, view diffs of its current state against the resource manifest in your Git repo. It will check out the Git records one to a deployed application. Run commands or start HTML within your application code, got or follow logs and event from your cluster. Forward local ports to your application calls, create Helm charts using scaffolding and snippets, watch using the cluster explorer and get live updates as soon as they changes. So more towards the Kubernetes stuff and working with kube config files and other command features. Primarily oriented towards the Kubernetes, Minikube, Helm, extension settings, custom tool location, linters, YAML processing directives. Kuka, popular JavaScript and TypeScript playground editor means provide runtime results right into the while we are setting the code. Runtime values are updated and displayed in your IDE next to the code as you type. So this is the Arduino and this is a preview extension provide the Arduino environment and Arduino compatible ports to be run quickly and leveraging the functionality and features of VS Code IDE. These are installer guides, startup guide, key bindings, and there are other configuration files, pre and post build commands when the things are getting built initially before the building, what steps need to be taken, and after the build, what steps need to be taken. These are those things. IntelliSense is there, Debugger is there, and support for Windows, Mac, and Linux as well. A debugger for Unity developers. This is not officially supported by Unity technology, although developed by Unity technology. Means providers they go to use this, some of the functionality. So if the developer like it, they can use it, customize it, this thing. And here's the Java language support using the Java compiler API. The Java language server based on version 3 of the protocol and implementation is Java. Installation editors, multiple editors installation guides, and how the things actually work in Java environment. So the functionalities that is providing, how that looks within the ID, these are the setting files and other configuration files. So we can use it for this thing for Java language. And here is the thing. A native debugger powered by LRDB, debug C++, Rust, and other compiled languages. Compiled languages, that means the code need to be compiled first before running. If it's a 1,000 lines of code, the 1,000 lines have to be compiled first, create a binding, and that binding to run the application. Conditional breakpoints, functional breakpoints, log points, hardware data access breakpoints, work points. We'll launch debugging integrated and external assemble review with the instruction level setting, loaded modules view, Python scripting, HTML language for advanced visualization, workspace level delivery for launch applications, remote debugging, reverse debugging, experimental, requires compatible backend. Languages. Primary focus of this project are the C++ and Rust languages for which the code LRDB includes built-in visualizers for vectors, string maps, and other standard library types. That said, it is usable in most other compiled languages whose compiler generates compatible debugging information such as Ada, Fortran, Kotlin native, name, Objective-C, Pascal, etc. Host Linux with glib 2.18 plus 4 x86 ARM64 or ARM attack. I mean, these both are ARM architectures, and this one is general PC architecture that we use in our desktops on a general basis. I'm talking about 2022 now, and this is still the general. These machines are coming that are based on ARM 64-bit architecture and ARM 32-bit architecture. So Mac OS for 10.10 plus 4 x86 64, these are Intel-based Macs, and 11 plus 0 plus 4 ARM 64, which is 64-bit ARM based Mac, and Windows 10 for x86 for Windows that is available for x86 64, which is the primary target people use for, because the ARM machines that do have Windows actually have Windows Home and Windows Home PC, which is tied to install application only through the Microsoft Store. So you already have to crack it, and with most devices you have to reinstall the OS that is not specifically locked to install application only from the Microsoft Store. And that's the reason most developers, while they are developing on Windows, they develop on Windows x86 64 rather than on ARM as well, except for the Microsoft, because they are the one who are providing the devices and themselves as well as the devices through their vendors data currently manufacturers. C++ runner, compiler and debugger, single or multiple C++ files with is primarily oriented towards the C++ development, debugger for C++ code. So these are the required stuff, that is the options and different parameters, different configurations. These are the actual settings and some notes on that. Find your oriented towards the C++ development. So this is AWS toolkit, and that provides the feature for AWS development to explore the AWS services. See of how you can have those things available right from an explorer view rather than from the terminal for AWS services. That do kind of whenever you look at it, that things do means a lot to you rather than going to command line view or having it in the form of explorer in the form of this nested tree, and so that's much easier to debug and to watch all around the logs and the functionalities. Right click, and in that menu, context menu, you have those functionalities through which you can have access to different function features. That's kind of the deal here. So that's a quite detailed documentation for this thing. SAS, LAS, stylus, Spark, J, TypeScript, JavaScript compiled hero. Easy to compile TypeScript, FCSS, stylus, Jetpack, and ASP without using a build task. Easily compile means it's a pre-built compiler for those. So just configure it, and that will compile that. Probably more of a handy than of a necessity. Native debugger. Native VS Code debugger support both GDB and LLDB. GDB, LLDB, and Mega MI debuggers support for VS Code. So these are some of the functionalities you can have this extension for. So that is primarily oriented towards the C code and related stuff. Java debugger. There's one more Java debugger. There are lots of Java debugger. So it's that is already deprecated, and that's referencing to the Java debug extension for VS Code, which is themselves the extension primary we have already visited, and this one. So that extension is now referring to this extension. Okay, good for them. JavaScript debugger nightly to debug JavaScript code, VS Code JavaScript debug. Although that is based in now inside the VS Code, you can use other extensions as well. This is nightly bug, which means you can get pretty much do a stuff, the testing stuff and all those stuff. That are expected to go in the stable version months later. Apple automatically values Python code in real time as it done. So Python in real time view of Python. Cordova tools, so lots and lots of Cordova stuff which is primarily used to develop applications on Android and iOS, different mobile platforms to a single code base in web-based programming languages that have JavaScript and HTML code. Now, the whole project is kind of going towards a different direction. It do provide, but the ecosystem is getting lesser and lesser people to get involved in this. So Microsoft do have withdrawn the support on their application studio environment for PhoneGap and Cordova based applications already. Just January 2022, so they have already withdrawn the support. And now referring to actually choose different programming languages if you do want to support using the Microsoft App Studio environment. So that's a developer to which programming environment they want to choose. If they want to use and continue with the Cordova project, they can, or they have to move the applications to different platforms for different things, including the live tutorial that I personally like the most in the MS Studio App Studio. So these are tools that are related to Cordova based applications. Bash debug. So it's for bash scripts, debugging for bash scripts. If you are writing simple script, that's okay, but when you are writing complex script, you can actually check thousands of lines of in just in the script. That do help in kind of. Microsoft Edge tools primarily based on Chromium based. Microsoft Edge is the browser based on Chromium based, so these are typical tools to debug applications on Edge. Edge is a lightweight version of the Chromium. So one of the Google Chrome, that means de-googled Google Chrome, and primarily based on the Chromium base. The same base that is VS Code, Visual Studio Code, the code editor from the Microsoft in recent years that become popular is based on. So there's a debugger for them. Primary means debug the JavaScript application, React Native applications, and all those stuff. Primarily the JavaScript applications. Mono debugger for the mono for the mono VM virtual machine. It is implemented as part of SQL command. Mono debug. Cloud code is for to Google Cloud environment. Google environment means all those Google virtual environments. Complete Google virtual and dynamic ecosystem of resources that they are using. Multiple features, cloud run deployment, containerization, secrets manager, cloud for developer API with Apache for their Apache emulator local runtime. So Apache will make your APIs and application development faster. That's why they acquired Apache. Kotlin, a debugger for Kotlin, syntax highlighting, built-in code completion. Means IntelliSense Request of CC plus debugging with flags allows to easily add arguments for a program being debugging by Microsoft CC plus an extension. Okay, so it's an add-on extension to an extension that is Microsoft CC plus extension, and this extend based on this extension, it, this extension provides functionality to add parameters to and arguments to the code that we are debugging through this extension. Primarily, we can provide the test cases for that. We can look into that whenever we develop the C++ application. That's for language support for Julia. And if you have installed Julia into a standard location on Mac or Windows, the Julia binary path, the Julia VS Code should automatically find your Julia installation and should not need any configuration anything. But you can even provide the custom paths for that. For Julia. PHP tools for VS Code, more PHP tools for the testing, code actions, code analysis, debugging, additional for PHP applications. HTML play, HTML CSS playground. Write code, see output. That's it. Alexa support and debugger for Alexa programming language. Alexa is Alexa. Provides Alexa language support and debugger. This extension is powered by Alexa language server and Alexa implementation of Microsoft IDE language server protocol and VS Code debug protocol with its space more information. This is now the main VS Code Alexa. Not debug deprecated. Now new JS extension is built into the VS Code. This is deprecated extension. So that now the JS debugger is available inside. So that's a ARM Cortex and GDB debugger support for VS Code. For ARM Cortex and microcontrollers debugging support. There are lots and lots of features. Primarily to the ARM environment. Lua debug, Microsoft Code debugger extension for Lua. That's nice. Bridge to Kubernetes, a rapid Kubernetes development for teams. So, Bridge to Kubernetes collects user data and sends it to us to have production. With Bridge to Kubernetes, the only thing you need to run and debug on your development is the microservice you are working out and your preferred dev tool. Bridge to Kubernetes extends the Kubernetes parameter to your development computer, allowing you to write, test, and debug microservice code while connected to a Kubernetes cluster with the rest of application or services. With this workflow, there is no need for extra such as Dockerfile, Kubernetes managed test. You can simply run your code natively on development workstation while connected to a Kubernetes cluster, allowing you to test your code in the context of the large application. Means we develop application locally and deploy directly to the Kubernetes cluster and see what's happening there. Finally, a remote debugger while developing locally. We have to check that out to find out how the things are. Eliminate the need of to manually source configuring file action dependency on your development computer. Then your usual debug profile with that cluster configuration. You can debug your code as normally while backend will spare flexibility of local debugging. Means development code debugging in the production environment through the local machine. That's end to end during development time. That makes to write the development machine. Where install that service is running locally, the cluster initiates over the front end of the page running so the service is running in the cluster until the service is specified to directive code. Yeah. Android iOS emulator. Run Android emulator and iOS simulator easily on Facebook. Okay, so this is means a shortcut click based for the installed Android SDK and iOS SDK. Develop robot operating system is quite for ROS to ROS robot operating system. I think attempt to detect and automatically configure the workplace for appropriate ROS distro. So primarily this is a custom distro, and the development project development environment for that ROS. Looks to me primarily related to the Python stuff and provides much more related and custom configuration and the flow for applications developed on ROS. Batch rename, a batch rename functionality. Android debug support. That's in preview. Preview Android for VS Code is Android debugging configurations through the IDB possible with the code that we are running in the Android Studio and here. So that provide debugging support right from the VS Code when we are debugging applications in VS Code. Not debug legacy, then even older version. Now we know that it has been integrated. QEM and not replaced in questionnaire to SKI compatible XML. Okay. Scala, Metal, Scala language are very rich ID features. Metal extension. Oh, that's support for Scala and it's a rich ID. Primarily towards the Scala programming language. That's showing us the Java stuff. Why is that so? Because of flying features. Java 8.11 provided by the OpenJDK Oracle and those for make sure the Java macros, Scala, Metal support is Scala. Scala Metal. It's the Metal extension for market. Speeding up the import. Scala Metal. Scala language server with rich ID features. That's a Scala bit product. Okay. And PowerShell preview. Let's see. This is the preview version for PowerShell. And development tools for Dynamics 365 is the center. So that is development tools. Modern Fortran. Programming language supporting syntax highlighting and for Fortran that are still programming in Fortran. So edible for Fortran. Native script support for VS Code for native script. Native script debugger. Azure IoT, an extension that supports Azure IoT extension pack. That's in the embedded system environment. That's the Dino language server for Dino language. And do you know uh, is Node.js a kind of stuff? That's the redeveloped by the creator of expresses idea for embedded system on expresses chips, integrated development lab framework. IoT development. .NET extension pack for .NET stuff. Open browser preview for browser preview within the VS Code. CS script during the editing C# code target .NET and .NET. Go nightly means test version 4.tools for to do tools for game development. Go.game engine. PHP debug. One more PHP debug that is based on Xdebug. Then PHP Xdebug. One more debug extension based on Xdebug. That's Erlang extension. Erlang extension means Ericsson language. Erlang. Hex Foundation. This is for that support for the Hex language, leveraging the Hex language support. C# tool for Godot project. Puppet, Puppet, official Puppet. Makefile for C++ Makefiles, primary application build files. VSC Prolog, support for Prolog language in the Visual Studio Code, VSC. For Meta Hero, one more extension, novelty than a necessity. Lunar Unity, Copos quickly kind of uh, is that looks to me which language is this? Looks to me Chinese. Then yes, looks to me Chinese. Let's see. Is that a Chinese or Japanese? Translate. That's Chinese. So this thing is Chinese. IBM blockchain platform. So this is someone more popular in China because that's how the things are. IBM blockchain end-to-end extension for Hyperledger, Fabric development, test blockchain applications. Python image preview for image preparing Python. That's C plus build task for application building in C++. Support for and LR for grammar files. One more